You know, the African proverb of it takes a village to raise a child.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Now it's more like it takes a village and our ChatGPT. You have access now to so you have digital assistants.
Yes.
You know, that will tell you when your baby needs, what they need. You have chat bots, smart baby monitors.
Yes. Cradle-wise, that's an application that basically watches the sleep pattern of your newborn. If it realizes that Johnny or Susie are waking up, it rocks the cradle.
If you look at AI-powered parenting apps, devices, and platforms,
yes,
then your projections are putting it at 300 to 500 million in 2024.
Okay. I think we're spending more time on the apps than with our kids, right? I'm sure in 100 years, 200 years, you will have emotionally robot nannies that will take care of our kids.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to SciTech Suisse Vibe Check. This is the weekly podcast we do on AI, technology, and lifestyle. My name is Ana Maria Montero, and I'm so happy to be back with my partner in crime, Peter Moertl.
Good to be here. Thank you.
As always, we're going to be getting into it. This time, we're going to be looking at AI-powered parenting. It is a thing, and we're really excited about it. But before we do that,
definitely subscribe. We're on all the social media. We have over 1.3 followers on YouTube. Do join us, like us, don't like us, send comments. We learn from you. Happy to join, and let's dive in.
Let's do it. So you and I are both parents.
Yes, sometimes, yeah.
Most days I claim that title. So I think back on, when I had a kid. So we have both kids about the same age. You have a 10-year-old at home, 10, 11. I do as well.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago when we had our last children, to have had somebody to have said, to have more help would have been nice, right?
Yes.
It's always great if you can imagine coming home with your baby and you're like, it just would have been nice to know a few things, to get a little bit more help, right?
Yes.
And now parents can really have that. Now more and more parents can really have that with AI.
Yes, thanks to wonderful applications that my mother would say nobody needs, but yes, we think we do. So absolutely, you're right.
I mean, now you can look up anything from how do I help my baby sleep? How do I, give me a sleep schedule for my kid? Like how often should I feed them? What should I feed them? There's just a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips as a parent now that we didn't have.
Yes, absolutely. And on that, and we get to other topics thereafter, but on that, I read up some of the things you have to have as a young parent, not for 10-year-olds, but for instance, there's applications out there called Cradle-wise, and that's an application that basically watches the sleep pattern of your newborn, right?
Yeah.
And if it realizes that Johnny or Susie are waking up, it rocks the cradle.
Yes.
I mean, how cool is that, right? I mean, that's like a dream come true.
For any sleep-deprived parent.
Exactly. Yeah. There's another one called Kulo AI, which is like detecting the face patterns. So if Johnny or Susie are just starting to wake up because, as you and I know, when they're hungry, they start crying, right? And just before that happens, we get this, whatever, on my watch or on your iPad, you get the notice that Johnny and Susie need food and what have you. So definitely, it's a different environment out there. As I say, I certainly grew up, and even our little ones grew up.
Absolutely. But you have access now to so you have digital assistants,
yes,
that will tell you when your baby needs, what they need. You have chat bots, smart baby monitors.
Yes, exactly.
Which is what you were referring to,
yes,
that
exactly.
will cradle your baby.
Yeah.
Personalized content platforms, so they help you now when you have older kids, they help you with screen time management, learning paths, education. You have mental health and emotional support tools as well for parents and children.
Yes.
So you have behavior tracking and predictive analytics that can tell you not only how to track milestones, but also how to predict tantrums.
Yes.
Like
Which
could be useful.
2 of my 4 had tantrums. I mean, serious tantrums. So I wonder if it really would help me that in 2 minutes, John is gonna have a tantrum.
Right.
I don't know if that really helped because once they have a tantrum, it takes half an hour to an hour before they calm down.
Yeah, I can't say that I have used this one. I would be interested if anybody listening has used this. I would be interested to hear feedback about whether or not that works and how.
Yes, exactly.
How well they work.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And if it's really helpful. I think we're spending more time on the apps than with our kids, right? Because one of the things that people are saying is that there's what they call a emotional detachment, right? Because you're so worried about the app and how you're like overprotective, that sort of, hen sitting on the egg situation, that you shouldn't forget that this is a human being. And there shouldn't be the machine between you and the human being. So that's one of the concerns that are raised in that regard. And the other one, of course, is the privacy issue.
Right.
Big Brother's watching you.
And your children.
We do share, we leave what you call footprint on the machine as to what John and Susie are doing, who John and Susie are. And you can do all kinds of weird stuff with that. So those are the 2 things: the emotional attachment and the privacy. That sort of, and I'm a different generation. I'm a boomer, so that's something that I have to weigh. What's more important, that Johnny has a tantrum or Susie doesn't sleep well?
Or are you training an LLM?
Exactly, or having an LLM. So that's or sharing footprint of your child, the closest thing you have. I mean, just you mentioned we have teenagers. Although she's 12, she's not a teenager yet, but she's getting there.
She's getting
the other
there.
one is a teenager, and one of the things we do actively tell her is don't show your face, don't share your name, and don't tell YouTube or TikTok where you live, because you just don't know. So that's one thing we do in that age, and certainly when they're a baby, we should even be more protective, right? I
Absolutely.
would think so.
No, absolutely.
So, which is an interesting topic because here we are. I mean, I'm a boomer. You are. We
Gen
try
Z.
to You're Gen Z.
No,
No.
I'm Gen X.
You're Gen X.
I'm Gen X.
A Gen X.
Gen
right?
Z. I wish. Or maybe not. Not sure. But Gen X.
But both of us don't come from the technology environment. I mean,
we're not digital natives.
we're not digital natives. So we now have kids, however, that are Gen Z, that are. Even the millennials are more digital, although you can see the difference already between a millennial, and a Gen Z. And I have a Gen Alpha, which you do have as well, right? So we have
2 alphas.
So we're 2 alphas, okay? So we do have kids that grew up in this environment. I mean, I had this morning, I was at a parents' day in school, French classes, of course, I had to pick. And 75% of the class was basically in AI. Where things where like the professor teacher was throwing up a QR code so they can read a story together, right?
Wow.
So I found that quite interesting. And if you were to take the iPad away from that generation, they'd be lost. They'd be totally lost, right? So that's an interesting observation that we already not even toddlers, but kids that can speak and run and out of diapers, where we think that was always my benchmark, right? As soon as they're out of diapers, we got it made. The only scary part was, oh my gosh, and then they start to talk.
And then,
because before they cannot speak. So that's a wonderful thing, because once they can speak and have no diapers, then the real trouble starts. So now all of a sudden we have other issues to worry about. So
so really, the target market for these kinds of AI parenting tools, we're on the
edge. I'm certainly way off the edge.
But when you look at your millennials and your Gen Z parents, right?
Yes.
These are the people that are really going to use more of this, right?
Yes.
They're more tech savvy. They're more open to it.
Yes.
Right.
The majority, actually, right? There's like 65, 70% that say, yes, it definitely will have an impact. I'm curious about it. I've used it and what have you. So there's a genuine interest in it. Doesn't mean we fully understand it, but at least there's this interest on the parent side, and it applies to education. Typical, I think, I heard you say health issues. Health
Right.
is a big one
Right,
where people
right.
say consumer goods is another one, of
Yes,
course. We
another
become
one, of course.
victims of that. I mean, when I listen to conversations my 16 and my 12-year-old have about what application they should use to produce a video, they might as well just speak Chinese.
Right.
But it's amazing how that inter-Gen Z alpha dialogue takes place, and I'm just sitting there nodding, like Stanford and Waldorf, Stadler and Waldorf on the balcony. So but yeah, that's what you do. You nod and smile.
You nod and smile, and I mean, because it is. If you think about it, if you pull back and think about the bigger picture, I mean, it's a market that's booming.
Yes.
Of course, right?
Yes.
Because not only do you have this generation of digital savvy parents, but you have the working parents.
Yes.
Right? The people that are just really looking for ways to make their life easier.
Yes.
You know, which I think we kind of are
in agreement.
all. I don't think that ever quite goes away, but you know, it is a market that's booming. I mean, if you look at the global parenting tech market, it's estimated to be worth up to 2.5 billion, and this was in 2023.
Yeah.
So
Not trillion, billion?
Billion, yeah.
That
Oh, you
doesn't
think it would be
sound enough.
trillion?
I think it's trillion, yeah. I don't think it's enough with billion. How much do you say? 20?
2.5 billion in
That
2023.
doesn't sound enough.
That doesn't sound like enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? If you look at AI-powered parenting apps, devices, and platforms,
Yes.
then your projections are putting it at 300 to 500 million in 2024.
Okay. Well, still not very big numbers in comparison to, if you look at the GDP of
But maybe
America.
if you look at the ripple effect, you look at how it's going to
Well,
have
it's just
ripples
starting.
into
Let's put it this
consumer.
way, it's
Yeah,
initial.
it's specific.
It's
If you have the
initial.
specific tech just
Yes.
for AI parenting,
Yes.
then you have, if it ripples into, like you said, consumer technology, healthcare,
Yes.
education, retail and consumer goods, mental health services.
Security is a big one. It's a very big one there too as well. It's interesting. You know what if you look at the top 5 AI applications that parents said they're using, what do you think those are? What's the number 1? Do you think?
Oh,
You're gonna laugh because that goes back to our generation.
Really?
Basically, it's
All right, lay it
Alexa.
on me.
It's Alexa.
Alexa.
And Google.
I was going to say Google. But
yeah.
yeah, sure. Alexa,
Yeah.
Google, Siri. These were our first
91% of
parenting
parents are using it.
co-pilots.
The second one is also more our generation. Really, is when you order a ticket and you go flights. It's a customer service.
Uh-huh.
Customer service is number 2 in AI. So
For parents.
we're talking to 82% are using it, and they're talking to a machine, ordering the ticket. Is it the right hotel? What have you? So not what you would intuitively think AI is all about. Number 3 is ChatGPT.
Uh-huh.
So that-
Already at number 3.
It's already at number 3 because it was very, very much promoted 2.5 years ago when it came out. So it's that. And then the fourth one, and that tells me that this survey must have been taken in the United States, is, what do you think the fourth one is? You've never done it. I've never done it. It's my favorite. We talked at one other podcast. We talked about my hobby.
Oh, race car driving. So gaming.
No, automatic car thingy, where you sit in, the car drives for you, which
so
for me is like the end of it.
Autonomous vehicles.
Exactly. That's number 4 in the world. And I think that survey has been taken in the United States because here in Switzerland I haven't seen that automotive drive yet.
Yeah,
in
me
Europe
neither,
it's in the infant stages.
Yeah.
So that sounds to me like a California survey. But in any event, it's number 4. So isn't that interesting that in all this AI hype, and we mentioned some of the apps that are out there, the 4 big ones that parents are using are
not this
ChatGPT.
specific.
Yes, fine, I
Yeah.
get it, but it's like, yeah, okay, fine, has been around. Customer service, Alexa. Alexa's been around
Yeah.
forever. You think, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting in what stage we are and where we're using it. So whenever we hear about security issues and all that, we leave so much footprint when we order tickets with our credit card, with our name, our birth date. I mean, we just have been leaving footprints for 15 years on there. It's scary, no? If you think about it. Now we're worried about it because the word AI is connected with it, but we've done
Been
it
doing that
forever. So But we're drifting off from parenting. But this is what parents use. Those are the top applications that they use. And so that's that. I read an interesting statistic because one thing is parenting using it. The other one is I read a statistic. For instance, in New York, there's a high school called Stuyvesant High School. They did a cool thing with AI, which is basically visualizing forestry and how they can protect nature with the help of AI and how they can protect birds and whatnot. Wonderful little development of 12 to 17-year-old ones, right? Another one from Princeton High School, which must be next to the college there, where they are protecting indigenous languages. So coming back to the original meaning of LLM, right, the large language machine, they are focusing on protecting and preserving indigenous languages of North America. So I think this is a wonderful thing and shows me how creatively and positively you as a parent, and school is an extended version of parents, is using AI to embetter the life of our kids. No? Isn't that great?
Absolutely. And it's what we always say, AI is always a double-edged sword.
Yes.
It comes with a lot of benefits. You can do a lot of amazing, beautiful things with AI. There's a lot of things you can support your children with AI. I mean, especially there's also, we haven't mentioned specifically, but neurodivergent children, kids with special needs that can really benefit from technology, that can really benefit from AI. You and I also share this a little bit.
Absolutely.
There are things that you're like, well, this is game changing for them, right? It's a way for them to also be able to connect with the world.
Yes.
And this is always the positive side, right?
That's very positive. In general, I'm a guy who thinks the glass is half full.
Yes.
I know we had one vibe check that we're saying that I now can have a glass full, but I always think on the positive side of things because it's part of our evolution as humans. I mean, we have been evolving for the last couple thousand years and survived all that time. And I think AI is just part. We had the Industrial Revolution. We had, it all started with us having free hands and able to use tools, right? As the first guys out there. And eventually one of those guys also created a spare, first for the mammals and then for the other beings out there. So it's evolving, the negative and the positive. In other words, if I kill a mammal or a mammoth in order to feed the family and the tribe, it's one thing to use it. If I then use it in a warrior's situation, that's the flip side of it. But we have been living with both sides ever since we have been walking.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah. Solid point.
It's just part of it, and we've managed it well. And this is just another one where, people are talking about legislation and jurisdictions and what have you. That's always, it's always lagging, right? When you want to negotiate a deal, you first do the deal. Once the deal is agreed, then the lawyers come. You don't want the lawyers leading the conversation of the deal. That becomes too complicated. So I think we're in the right track.
All right. So on the pro side, you have it's personalization, you have health monitoring, you have efficiency of all of these things that can help. Yeah. On the consideration side, on the challenges side, as we always have the flip side, the flip side to AI. You have what you mentioned, your privacy, your data protection,
security,
and then this, what I think is a very important topic as well, which is, and you've mentioned it already, it's that emotional disconnect and that over-reliance on tech. That suddenly you feel like you can outsource parenting to AI.
Yeah.
As tempting as that that might sound sometimes, like you were talking about maybe predicting tantrums or not having to get up at night to rock your baby to sleep or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
I think it's also important to be aware of this. Just like you're aware of your environmental footprint when you use AI, which is in another podcast that we have recorded, is also your awareness as a parent, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Where to draw that line.
The reason I have to smile is because a very good German friend of mine is fluent in Spanish.
Okay.
And I said, oh, you lived in Spain? Or, this is not a typical language you learn in Central Europe. She said, no, my nanny was Spanish. I said, what does that mean? Well, I never saw my parents. So we have been delegating education to nannies way before AI.
You are not wrong.
And so,
you are not wrong.
In certain circles for sure, but also otherwise. So it's one of those things where we need to reflect and be aware.
But a nanny is still a person.
Yes.
You know, a nanny is still a
human
person, a human being,
Yes.
and brings, I strongly believe, still brings a different dynamic than a chatbot.
Yes, on the emotional side, I fully
On the
agree with
emotional
you.
side,
Absolutely.
and the
Yes.
connection, the bonding, the
Yes.
communication.
Yes.
You know, I think.
But we're working on making the emotionals more part of the neural system of a bot. So not in my generation anymore, but I'm sure in 100 years, 200 years, you will have emotionally robot nannies that will take care of our kids. So I think, again, altogether, it's a positive development.
Yes.
We need to reflect on what the role is, how we use it, and I'm actually excited. I think it's great. Just imagine we don't have AI. There's nothing to talk about. Right?
Well, I mean, it certainly changes, the African proverb of "it takes a village to raise a child."
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Now it's more like it takes a village and our
plug.
ChatGPT
and a plug.
and ChatGPT to raise the child.
Exactly. So
That's the world we live in. I agree.
Exactly. More to come, huh?
Always.
So we covered a lot of topics, anywhere from applications for parents to the role of parents as human beings, emotional beings. That's what you stressed very much. And then sort of the cold side of AI on one hand, very helpful, like rocking my baby when Johnny or Susie wakes up, all the way to the footprint we leave. So I think we covered a lot of topics. And as always, I'm somebody who enjoys change. Somebody who enjoys all this activity, and it's the fun part. It's a great challenge, and where would we be without challenges, right? So I think with that, we can wrap it up for today, huh?
I think so, and I will admit that I'm also a parent who doesn't mind getting a little help every now and then.
Who does? Wonderful. Thanks for joining us. Do subscribe. And leave us your comments, positive, negative, ideas that you would like to hear. We'd love to hear from you. Ana Maria, muchas gracias.
Siempre un placer.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.